I sat in the driveway staring one last time at the place my friend used to call the House of Horrors. To the world, it was just a suburban home, but to my 5 brothers and me, it was a prison. Our parents ruled with a terrifying, unpredictable control. I remember being a little girl forced to stand on one leg for hours reciting school books. One stumble, one mispronounced word, and my father would scream until his face turned purple. Many nights, we were sent to bed with stomachs growling, punished by hunger. But my oldest brother, EJ, had made a silent vow. One day he'd whisper while we huddled together, "I'm going to save up enough money to get us all out of here." That day finally arrived. EJ had spent years secretly hoarding every cent from his job at the convenience store. He didn't buy a house. He bought freedom in the form of a massive, second-hand caravan. It was big enough for all 6 of us. As our parents lay passed out on the couch in a drunken stupor, we began loading our lives into the back. "Hurry up before they wake up!" EJ hissed from the driver's seat. Tom, the youngest, was the last one out. Just as he reached the door, the front house door flew open. My parents charged out, faces contorted in rage. My mother grabbed Tom, pulling him to the ground, screaming, "Where the hell do you think you're going?" For years, we would have frozen in fear, but not today. We jumped out as a unit, shoving our mother back. For the first time in our lives, we saw them look defeated. We piled into the caravan, and as EJ floored it, the sound of their screaming was drowned out by our collective laughter of pure, terrified joy. The world was finally open. We decided to drive straight through the night, putting as many miles as possible between us and our childhood. Being the second youngest, I didn't have much say in the navigation, but I didn't care. I trusted my brothers with my life. 2 of them took turns at the wheel while the rest of us tried to sleep. It wasn't easy. My brothers aren't exactly the neatest people, and their combined snoring sounded like a jet engine trying to take off. Restless, I pulled back the curtain and stared at the stars. A small brown caravan was cruising in the lane next to ours. Through its rear window, I saw him, the most beautiful boy I had ever seen. He had dark hair, a strong jawline, and eyes that seemed soft even through the glass. I realized I was staring and felt my face turn bright red. He didn't look away. Instead, he smiled and waved. I waved back, my heart doing a strange flip. He grabbed a piece of paper and a marker, scribbling something quickly. He held it up to the glass. "I like your smile." I felt a rush of adrenaline, a spark of something I'd never been allowed to feel at home. But before I could respond, one of my older brothers reached over and yanked the curtain shut. "No boys until you're 18, he grumbled, half asleep. By the time I managed to peek back out, the brown caravan had merged into the darkness and vanished. I spent the rest of the night wondering if I'd ever see that smile again. The next day, the landscape shifted from suburbs to rolling grasslands and sparkling rivers. EJ suggested we stop at a caravan park to rest properly. As we pulled into our stand, I froze. There, parked just a few rows away, was the brown caravan. "Hey, you!" a soft voice said behind me. I turned to find the boy from the road. "Seems like you're following me," he teased. His name was Jack. We spent the afternoon talking, and for the first time, I felt an instant electric connection. We had so much in common, it felt like fate. But our time was cut short when my brother called me back to our camp. Before I left, Jack leaned in and whispered, "Meet me at the river's edge at midnight." That night, I waited until the caravan was vibrating with the sound of 5 snoring brothers. I snuck out into the cool night air. Jack was waiting under a massive oak tree by the water. He looked even more handsome in the moonlight. He handed me a wildflower and began telling me how he felt. It was fast, maybe too fast, but we were both young and seeking something real. We kissed under the stars, a moment of pure magic. Jack took out a pocket knife and carved our initials into the oak tree, J&M. As the sun began to peek over the horizon, I knew I had to get back. I expected to be scolded by my brothers for wandering off, but as I approached our caravan, I realized something was horribly wrong. The air wasn't filled with snoring, it was filled with panic. "Where's Tom?" EJ's voice was strained, higher than I'd ever heard it. I looked around, confused. "He's not in the caravan?" The panic was infectious. We searched everywhere, the bathrooms, the reception, the thick woods nearby. Jack even helped us call the police, but they told us they couldn't do anything until he'd been missing for 48 hours. EJ refused to wait. We'll find him ourselves, we always do. We piled into the caravan and began driving the surrounding back roads, shouting Tom's name until our throats were raw. We took a wrong turn onto a gravel road, then a sandy path. The sun went down, and the world became a void of blackness. Exhausted and lost, we finally parked in an open area, planning to continue at dawn. When I woke up the next morning, a scream pierced the air. I looked out the window and gasped. We weren't on a road anymore. We were in the middle of a vast, featureless desert. Yellow sand stretched to the horizon in every direction. The wind had blown the sand over our tracks from the night before. The road had simply vanished. We had no phones, no map, and very little water. I fell to my knees, sobbing. Tom was gone, we were lost, and the freedom we had fought so hard for felt like a death sentence. We ate a breakfast of canned food and began driving aimlessly, the engine straining against the soft dunes. Hours later, the desert finally gave way to a gravel road, and as the sun set again, we spotted a silhouette in the distance. A lone cabin.
What is that?
We approached the cabin with a mix of hope and dread. Hello? Anyone home? EJ knocked, but there was no answer. The door was unlocked. Inside, the place felt wrong. The walls were covered in photos of children of all ages and races, none of whom looked like they belonged to the same family. Toys were scattered everywhere, but they were covered in a thick layer of dust. In the kitchen, there was no real food, only heaps of candy, chips, and soda. Maybe it's a toy museum, one brother guessed. More like a house for freaks, another muttered. Regardless, we were starving. We gorged ourselves on chocolate and jelly beans before the caravan ran out of fuel entirely, leaving us stranded in the middle of the road. For 5 days, we lived like scavengers, eating candy for every meal, our tempers fraying. On the 5th day, a miracle appeared on the horizon. A small brown caravan. Jack and his family had found us. I threw my arms around Jack, crying with relief. His parents seemed like saints. They offered us water and a ride to the nearest town. They lived in the area and knew the way. As we piled into their smaller caravan, cramped but grateful, I noticed something strange. Jack's father was driving back the way they had come, back toward the creepy cabin. I missed the turn, he said smoothly. The town is close, but let's stay at our holiday home tonight and finish the trip tomorrow. We were too tired to argue. We followed them back into the cabin. Curiously, it was now clean. The photos were gone. The kitchen was full of real food. It felt like a normal home, but the silence was heavy.
What is going on here?
Jack's mother made us a delicious dinner, and we collapsed onto blankets on the living room floor. I was asleep the moment my head hit the floor. At 3 a.m., a hand gripped my shoulder. Mindy, get up. I blinked, confused. A shadow stood over me. As my eyes adjusted, I gasped. It was Tom. He looked thin, his clothes torn, his eyes wide with a terror I hadn't seen since we lived with our parent. We have to go. Now! The lights flicked on. Jack's father stood in the doorway, his friendly mask gone. How did you get out, little boy? He hissed. Run! Tom screamed. They're kidnappers! Run! The house erupted into chaos. EJ lunged at Jack's father, knocking him back. Jack and his mother appeared, blocking the exit, their faces cold and predatory. But they underestimated us. We were 6 siblings who had survived a house of horrors. We fought with everything we had, pushing past them and sprinting into the night. We didn't go for our stalled caravan. We piled into their brown one. The keys were in the ignition. EJ floored it, the tires spitting gravel as we tore away. A few miles down the road, we found our own caravan. Using a spare gas can from Jack's vehicle, we got our engine started and fled in tandem, not stopping until we reached a distant village. We eventually found a small fishing town by the sea. We'd been here for 5 years now, living in our caravans by the beach. Tom never speaks about those days he was held captive. He buried those memories deep. I did the same with Jack. Sometimes I see their faces on wanted posters in the post office. A family of predators. I don't look twice. I just turn back to the ocean, thankful for the brothers who saved me and the freedom we finally kept.
Sometimes I see their faces.
Thankful for the freedom we finally kept.